Hello kindred spirits, so in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how I use salt, especially for backgrounds, but for any purposes. And the first thing to do here is to wet the background. For that I'm using a very cheap brush that I purchased at the grocery store, so it has absolutely no name or no brand. And what I'm doing right now is just applying water to the area that I want to paint later on. And the reason why it's important to do this bit is to allow some time for us. So if you just paint the background color wet on dry, so if you don't pre-wet the background, you will have much less time to sprinkle the salt, and you will have much less result as well from, the salt will not be able to pick up so much of the paint and the water. And then I'm using Prussian Blue and also Dioxizane Purple to paint the background. Here I'm using Escoda Perla size 10 brush, which is one of my favorites. Well, anything from Escoda I think is great. It has a full body, so if you press down on your brush, you can create quite large strokes, while it has a very pointy end. So as you can see me doing right here, you can also do some details and get into the corners and tiny bits where, an other brush wouldn't be able to do this in one brush. You would have to get a contour brush separately from your bigger brush, but here you can do it all in one, so I don't have to switch brushes, which I think is great. I still use, the smaller size brushes for when I'm doing a lot of details like, hair and stuff like that, but right here you can see that I'm doing completely fine with this bigger size brush, doing these little corners of the girl. So let's get back to salt technique. The first thing that I want to talk about is how many mistakes I made during the process of realizing how to use salt. So in the beginning I had absolutely no result. I tried to paint as Santa Claus, and I thought it would be a fun way to paint the head and his sleeves with salt technique. And I sprinkled the salt and nothing would happen, and I applied more and more water so that I could have some results, but nothing happened. So there was this book that I painted a couple of Santa Clauses for, and for most of them there is no result at all. So the first thing to do is to have enough pigment in your water. So if you're going to paint a very diluted, very light version of a background, of any background, for example, if you were to use even a lighter color like yellow or something very pale, the result wouldn't show up. So that's the first thing, to have a dark or a pigmented background or color that you are going to work on. And then the next thing is never ever work on the area that you sorted after sprinkled it with water. So you can see that I already did the left side of this painting, and there are some salt on there, and it's working its magic. And I am going to work on that a little bit more, just to contradict myself. But that was the first thing I realized before when I was painting with this technique, is that if you work on that while it's still wet and you already sprinkled the salt, there will be much less result in the end. So the next thing that I realized was that I do panic when there is no show. Like if I see that there is no result, for example, now you can see on the left side, especially in the middle, that there is a pretty good whitening where I put the salt. So I just saw that there is nothing is happening, and I would panic and try to paint again and sprinkle the salt again and paint again. And of course, it would just keep getting worse and uglier. So yeah, just do your thing. Do a very pigmented background with lots of water if it's possible, and then sprinkle the salt when it's still wet, and you will have that beautiful result. You just have to wait enough. And the last thing that I want to mention is that you should wait until it completely dries. So I'm pretty happy. I can see the salt doing its magic already. But if I were to work on this more, then I would just mess it up. It wouldn't be the same result. Here you can see me doing the same exact thing, but wet on dry. So I didn't pre-wet this area before because I wanted to see if it works the same if I did wet on dry. But the only thing I would like to mention is if you try to do this method, then make sure to add plenty of water to your pigment. So you can see that still this is pretty dark, but I loaded my brush with plenty of pigment and plenty of water as well. So just to make sure that in the end the salt method will be visible. Here you can see me sprinkling the salt. There is no magic, no special treatment needed. It's just paint and salt. So this was not an expensive type of salt. I went to the grocery store and purchased the cheapest salt that was available in a large pack, and that's what I use. So I heard some people in tutorials saying, oh, you need this kind of special salt from the sea, or you need these bigger pieces. No, you don't need that. This is the cheapest possible thing ever, and you can get it anywhere. And any type of salt will work. So I'm doing the final little touches of the background. Now when it is completely dry, I'm going to get a brush at first and try to get most of the salt pieces off. It is very important that this is completely dry, because if it is still wet, you can mess it up and the paint can get into the white places again. And I did switch to my retractable eraser. You won't believe how many things this is good for. I also use it for removing masking fluid. And it is basically so much better than using your fingers or any other thing. The brush is too soft to remove the parts that stick to the paper, and your fingers have a lot of oils on them even if you just wash your hands. So you can easily damage your paint with your fingers. But with this retractable eraser, you can hold it like a pencil and basically just erase the salty bits. And meanwhile I'm doing that, you can see the big reveal. This is how it looks when I removed all of the salty bits, and I think it's beautiful. I really do hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what else you would like me see do a video of, and thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Bye bye.